How much water would you have to drink to die? Which mathematician was the leader of an extreme religious cult that forbade its members from talking or eating beans? How did an episode of Friends create one of the most widely believed medical myths? The answers to these questions and hundreds more can be found in my new book, Facts That Aren't True. Link in the description.
We didn't come up with numbers, we discovered them.
No,
we
we
didn't come up
invented
with
them.
the expression. We didn't come up with math, we discovered them.
Nope,
so they
we
were
invented
always
it.
here.
No. Like, we don't discover new prime numbers. We discover that the rules we arbitrarily made up for doing division apply to certain numbers in the number line, which we also invented.
Yeah. So I could show you how the monad, what they thought about the monad. I know you agreed that there's a possibility that there is a monad, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know where you want to go from here.
I'm fine with the idea of an actual, like, of a singularity or whatever, but this philosophical monadism, I don't see where this takes us. But we got on the, we completely switched over to, what the fuck is a male and a female number? I need to know this.
Well, I just told you it was the expression of binary. Sorry, I'm cold. My AC is blowing. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but you still... So I don't think you've actually given me an answer yet.
All right, what's your question?
What the hell does it mean that some numbers are masculine and some numbers are feminine?
Right, and I told you, you gave example of the 0 and 1. The 1 split from the 0. You can't have the 1 without the 0.
That makes no sense. 1 split from the 0?
Yes, you can't have the 1 without the 0.
That's not what something split from something means. I can't exist without my parents.
Well, philosophically speaking, we wouldn't have what's around us if that wasn't the case.
You do realize that historically, the number 0 was developed after the concept of counting natural numbers, right?
Sure.
So if what you're saying about 1 split from 0...
I didn't know one was developed before the other, but okay.
Right. So the idea that the 1 split from the 0, that it's required, that does not follow the arc of history at all.
Okay, does that mean the 0 was never there? According to what you just said, does that mean the 0 was never there? Or not
0
discovered?
is a representation of nothingness, and then it's used as a placeholder,
right,
for the counting system that we currently use. Like, Roman numerals don't have a
does
0.
Does that mean the
they
0
would count...
was never
Hold on.
there? You're being intellectually dishonest right now.
There's no such thing as 0.
Never there? Because they didn't discover it doesn't mean it wasn't there.
There's no such thing as 0. It represents nothing.
Okay, so...
What part of that do you disagree with?
The 0... We wouldn't have the 1 without the 0.
We literally went over how counting systems were developed before the concept of 0 was developed.
So you're asking me how the transgression happened from the 0 to the 1.
You are arguing in bad faith without realizing it. You can't have the 1 without the 0 because that means that something can come from nothing. Or I don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as 0. It's an abstraction, but the abstraction itself represents nothingness. Now, in counting, 0 is used as a placeholder so that we don't... Like, we can just pretend that...
0 is actually a number expression. It's a number expression. 0 is a number. You can't say 0 is not a number. That's intellectually
It represents
dishonest.
Nothing.
It's intellectually dishonest to say 0 isn't a number.
I didn't say it's not a number. I said it represents nothing. When I said zero doesn't exist, I mean there's no such thing as zero quantities of anything. It's almost like a paradoxical statement. How many of nothing is there?
But to have nothing, you have to have something.
That makes absolutely no sense at all. In order to have no money, you have to have money.
But money exists, regardless.
You think numbers exist.
Regardless, if the human mind was here or not. Yeah, I do. We're just discovering higher expressions of it.
Do you understand how you just contradicted yourself in consecutive sentences?
Explain it to me. How was I contradictory to
You
my
said you can't have something you can't have nothing without something. Right?
Yeah.
And then I said, oh, you can't have money unless you can't have no money unless you have no money. And then you said that's not how it works because money is real or something like that. And then I said, you think numbers are real, and you agreed.
Yeah, because just because humans haven't came up with the idea, right? So you said money, right? You gave an example of money.
Why am I doing this?
Just because I don't have money, that doesn't mean money itself isn't real just because you don't have it. Do you understand that? That doesn't make money itself not real just because you don't have it personally.
Yeah, I know, but that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I just told you how it did.
So why is the number 1 male and the number 0 female? That was the question I asked 10 minutes ago, and we didn't get anywhere close to that.
The male and female energies. I mean, I'm not a scientist, man. I can't really tell you, but that's how they observe it. Your 1 is your input, that's the power, right? And your 0 is your off. That's like the off button. If you look at a computer logo, you have a semicircle with a line through it, right? That's your power. That line through it symbolizes power, and the 0 means off.
This is the most sophisticated form of misogyny I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, you can look at your power outlet. The 0 represents off, and the line represents on.
Great. What does that have to do with?
You're telling
what does that
me
have to do with peens and
misogynist
vagines?
That's the expression of it. Like how you have a power cord, you have male and female plugins. That's an expression. You're saying misogyny, but one can't happen without the other. You have to plug in something. You got to have both.
We could live in a universe where there's no such thing as biological sex. In fact, that was the case for quite a long time. Bacteria, they just do binary fission and they reproduce copies of themselves. There are animals that even do that. They just make copies of themselves. So on this planet, all life that is divided into biological sexes could be eradicated, and then what? Everything would just be female? I think the females are actually the dominant ones.
Again,
because you don't
agree
buddy,
with
life doesn't require males to even exist or continue existing. So who run the world? Girls. That's also a Lil Wayne lyric for all of you hip-hop enthusiasts out there.
So
who run the world? Girls. Lil Wayne, 2016.
Okay, so are you agreeing that there's a higher female god and a higher male god now, or what are you saying now? So you have to
hold on. I'm asking you, right? Who run the world?
Are you agreeing that there's either a female god or a male god?
No, I'm just saying, who run the world? Girls. Chat, I know it's Beyonce, okay? I'm just trolling. That one I actually did know. So, who run the world?
I mean, if you know, if you want to say it's feminine, I can explain to you why I think it's a father figure. But until you have to at least agree on there's a male and feminine divine essence.
No, I don't agree on that at all. My point was, scientifically speaking, there don't need to be any males in the kingdom of life. So seems to me that girls would be fine without us.
I mean, that's subjective. I can show you an objective. Oh, nah. Yeah, kind of a theory, a philosophy behind it.
Objectively, scientifically speaking,
we can't really.
If there were no male organisms, then species that are divided among sexes would mostly go extinct, although there are some that do parthenogenesis. But life would continue with organisms that simply reproduce on their own. Now, at that point, you can just be like, well, now there's no such thing as biological sex. I mean, kind of in a way, but if the females are the ones that sort of like incubate and produce the next generation or provide the material sufficient for that, and the male just plays a part in that or whatever, but we can get rid of them and it still exists, then again, who run the world? Girls.